Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and today we got some exclusive information for the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox Series, and yes, the PlayStation 5 as well. So we are going to talk about all of the big three today. Of course, last week, a lot of fans were freaking out over Nintendo's tease. Who is Emio? That short snippet trailer really made it out to be a mature horror-rated game, which is something that they're not really all that known for, so are they maybe trying something a little bit different? And, well, we got our answer today. What I'll kind of say here is that it's still a surprise, but not necessarily the surprise that a lot of people were hoping for, and I'll get into that today and why I'm personally still actually excited about this game. Then also, Xbox got a surprise exclusive announcement that's slated for 2025, so do make sure to stay tuned for that. But let's just go and get right into things, starting off with PlayStation, and actually their next, I'll say, promising exclusive. Now, technically, they have Concord as well, but, you know, I'm not so sure that's all that promising. But Astro, on the other hand, is set for September, and it looks absolutely amazing. Now, I've said it a few times already, but my prediction is that Astro will be up for some awards at the end of the year, possibly even a Game of the Year contender. And the reason I say that is because I played the first two 3D Astrobot platformers. I know exactly how good they are. They are some of the best 3D platformers that you can possibly play. And I trust Team Asobi because of that. More so, Astrobot for the PlayStation 5 appears to be their biggest game yet, and that's now been confirmed in a new interview. They said that it'll be 12 to 15 hours long and that they want to really make a game in which the tempo is constant throughout and that each level is the same quality rather than having moments that are actually a little long. In other words, they don't want it to be overly bloated. And I'm going to go and say right now, I'm good with that. Personally, I don't need every game to be 20 plus hours long. I feel like a lot of studios anymore tries to pad out their games to meet a certain quota, and while okay, that might be good for headlines, the end result isn't always fun for players. Yeah, it works for some games if you can get the pacing right, but I think for Astrobot being a 3D platformer that's primarily just gameplay, 12 to 15 hours sounds perfect. I mean, you have to remember here, something like Spider-Man 2, that's a 17-hour-long game, but once you subtract all of the cutscenes, which is more than 5 hours long, then yeah, it's not quite as long as what you might think if we're just talking about gameplay strictly. So the way I look at this is that Astrobot appears to be longer than Astrobot for PSVR and Astro's Playroom combined, and it puts it more in line with games like Ratchet & Clank as one such example. So yeah, I'm very excited for this game, and I'm ready to see Team Asobi get a legitimate chance at a bigger game. Now, we also got an update for Resident Evil 7 on iOS devices. This was big news when Capcom first announced that Resident Evil 7 is heading over to the iPhone 15. The idea that AAA console games could be played on mobile phones is revolutionary to some extent, but the only problem is that market just doesn't really seem to care. This comes from mobilegamer.biz, and they reported this. AppMagic estimates suggest that Resident Evil 7, the latest console game to arrive as an iOS exclusive, has attracted under 2,000 paying customers. As we reported a couple weeks ago, big-name console game ports like Assassin's Creed Mirage, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4, and Death Stranding have all performed poorly since release. All of these titles have been promoted by Apple in its keynotes as examples of its new iPhone's technical capabilities. So, you know, this in a way is a big setback for what these AAA console publishers were hoping for. They are trying to expand their market by going to mobile phones, which I think is smart, but as we're seeing, it's not going to be all that easy. And I think the reason for that is because the mobile market and its fans are looking for just different experiences than what we are. You know, they look for those smaller experiences that have a low entry cost. I mean, you have to kind of realize that a lot of mobile games are either free or they're very cheap. Meanwhile, you have something like Resident Evil 7, and that's $20 on iOS, and even though that's cheap compared to its console counterpart, that's still high on the mobile market. So these companies are dealing with a completely different mindset than what they're used to, and that's something that they will need to adapt to if they want to continue with these mobile ports. In the meantime, though, I think this kind of highlights the different customer habits that mobile gamers have compared to console and PC gamers. Yes, technically, these companies can continue to lump mobile gamers together with PC and consoles, but they are a very different type of consumer, and I think it's pretty evident here with the multiple apparent AAA flops on iOS. Okay, so moving on here, Nintendo dropped some surprising news today. They revealed exactly who Emio is, and I know a lot of people really wanted this to be a new, mature-rated horror game that would get Nintendo out of their comfort zone a little bit. And okay, I completely agree with that. I think that sounds really exciting myself, but that's not quite what they revealed. Now, I will still say, though, we got halfway there to a degree because they still revealed a mature-rated game, that's still different for Nintendo, but not within that typical horror genre that a lot of people were maybe hoping for. Rather, what this is a crime thriller visual novel experience because it's a brand new Famicom Detective Club game. Now, for those that aren't familiar with this series, because I honestly think most people probably fall into that group, these are very obscure Nintendo titles from the 80s and 90s that most people haven't played. In fact, they were only recently ported over to the West thanks to the remakes that they released in 2021, which again, also didn't sell a lot. So this isn't exactly a super well-known Nintendo franchise, but however, they are compared to the Ace Attorney series, but a lot darker, and it sounds like they're really going to go ahead and lean into that in the newest entry titled Famicom Detective Club, The Smiling Man. And this is what I really want to talk about. Like, I understand the disappointment for this announcement because a lot of people were expecting it to be something else, and that would have been cool as well. But I have to say, I really like the premise of this game. I think it sounds really cool on paper, and I think it has the potential to surprise a lot of people if they can execute this properly, because the thing about the remakes is that they're described as really good stories, but their gameplay is held back by their dated design. That's something that Nintendo has a chance to fix in a brand new modern entry, though, and check this out. The Metroid co-creator Sakamoto is behind this project in a major way, and he said that he is confident that this new game is the best this series has to offer. And you know what? I believe him. I think that they'll fix the gameplay design to feel a lot more modern. And the idea of this game, like I said before, is really cool on paper. It's based around a murder mystery that involves an urban legend. The urban legend in this game is that the Smiling Man is said to offer crying girls a paper bag with a smile drawn on it in exchange for their life. I mean, come on. That's a great setup for a murder mystery game like this, and it's super dark. I mean, fans wanted a mature-rated title from Nintendo, and even though this is a more niche game than I think a lot of people wanted, being a visual novel experience, you're still going to get that mature-rated game, and I think there's a lot of potential for this to be an unforgettable story. I mean, personally, I like books, so I enjoy the occasional visual novel experience. Like, I get why people don't like them. You know, they're not your traditional game with, just loads of gameplay, but I really believe this game has the potential to surprise people in its story department. I think the only thing for me, though, is that I haven't played the first two games because I'm not exactly sure I want to deal with some of its apparent dated gameplay flaws. And, they've also never gone on sale either. But at the same time, I'm genuinely interested in this new game because I do really like its premise. And, I might have to go back and play those other games as well. If you have played those games, let me know in the comments below if you think they're worth it. Give me your best recommendation for it. However, despite that, if you are interested in The Smiling Man, it's set to release next month on August 29th, both digitally and physically as well, which is really nice to see. Now, one last thing before we go. Xbox just got an interesting console-exclusive announcement from the popular Orcs Must Die series. This is one of the more popular tower defense-like franchises out there, especially over on PC, and they just announced a fourth entry for early 2025. It's slated for Xbox, Steam, and the Epic Games Store. Surprisingly, not the PlayStation 5 for right now, but you can see its gameplay reveal here, which was posted by IGN. The big thing about this reveal, though, is that it comes with a 4-player cooperative mode for the first time. That could potentially be game-changing for a series like this because it's a perfect fit. Now, they're also promising bigger environments than ever before, a roguelike progression system, and also improved third-person combat as well. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for them is to execute these ideas in a good way. Something that I have noticed about this series is that a lot of longtime fans felt that the third game was kind of a step back compared to the first two entries. It seems like it's still a very well-liked entry, but hopefully Orcs Must Die 4 will bounce back and win those specific fans over. But hey, I guess we'll see in early 2025 when it eventually releases. We don't have an exact release date just yet, but that's also why you need to subscribe, because once we find out, of course, I'll make sure to let you know ASAP. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, peace out.